What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about Summer Games Fest predictions. Summer Games Fest is about a few weeks away, 2 weeks away now. And I wanted to talk about some predictions I have for the show. But before we start, I just wanted to put a little disclaimer right here in the video to let you know that I have kind of been out of the loop when it comes to gaming news. I have been playing catch up for the past few weeks, so I've been playing more games than I have been keeping up with gaming news. These are just my predictions. I have no insider knowledge, but just know that the reason I think these things are going to be here is because I'm genuinely going to be surprised for SGF. I've not been keeping up with rumors, really. I've not really been keeping up with leaks that are going on. So there's going to be a lot of things that are surprising to me. So these are just my predictions based on not a whole lot. I did research some things. I did go to gaming leaks and rumors on Reddit. Reddit, not the best place to get information, but that is a good subreddit just to kind of like dip your toe in and see what may be arriving soon. Without further ado, let's hop into my list that I have made. This is my SGF predictions list. Let's start with Nintendo because they're the ones that I have like the most like finger on the pulse for when it comes to what may be arriving soon. So without further ado, let's hop into Nintendo predictions. And my first one I have on the list is Kingdom Hearts native Switch 2 ports incoming. When I was on Gaming Leaks and Rumors, I saw that apparently the cloud demos have been taken down for Kingdom Hearts, so it seems like something is happening Kingdom Hearts related on Switch 2. That could be nothing. They could have just taken down the demos because no one's using them and they want to not be paying for the servers to stay open for a cloud-based version of Kingdom Hearts on Switch. They may just not want to deal with all that, so they probably took it down for those reasons. But we have the Switch 2 now. It seems like the Switch 2 can handle the entire Kingdom Hearts franchise now that we have more powerful hardware from Nintendo. So it does seem like Kingdom Hearts, some form, may be at the Nintendo Direct with a native Switch 2 version of all the Kingdom Hearts games. So I kind of predict that. It's a safe prediction, but I kind of assume it's going to happen at some point rather than later. So yeah, we'll just move on to the next one. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition. My source for this was Bill Kuhn on Gaming Leaks and Rumors. I saw that Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition had a listing of maybe a release date of like July or June at some point. So it seems like Sonic Frontiers is going to get a updated version, and that will be good because I heard some pretty not great things about the Switch version of Sonic Frontiers. So it would be great to have like a definitive version of Sonic Frontiers on Switch 2. Haven't really played a whole lot of Sonic Frontiers. It's just something that I saw that may be here. It's kind of a safe prediction. But this next one, Devil May Cry 5 Switch 2 port, I am very excited for because I do believe this is going to happen. Nate the Hate talked about this on a podcast a while back, and it does seem like Devil May Cry 5 is going to be on Switch 2. Hell yes, let's go Capcom. I'm a sucker for Capcom games, especially on Switch 2. I will say I'm pretty lukewarm on some of their Switch 2 ports. The best one has been Street Fighter 6. The other versions of Capcom games on Switch 2 have kind of been not great. Monster Hunter 3 has some pretty, or Monster Hunter Stories 3 has some pretty big performance issues. So does Resident Evil Requiem and Pragmata. Those versions were hyped up, and I just don't see the appeal. I prefer to play Capcom games on my PlayStation, but it does seem like DMC 5 should be coming to Switch 2, and I'm hoping it'll be a better Switch 2 port since it was originally a PS4, Xbox One generation game. So it should be able to handle it, no problem, but we'll have to wait and see. But it does seem like DMC 5 is getting a Switch 2 port, so I expect to see Capcom show up with that at the Nintendo Direct that may be happening in June. Also, sticking with Capcom, I expect Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remakes to be ported over to Switch 2 and show up at the next Nintendo Direct. I think they're going to keep the train rolling with the Resident Evil hype that's going on this year, especially since it is the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil. I think they're going to want to keep up with that momentum and release Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remakes on Switch 2 I would love that. That's a day one purchase for me. I prefer these over 7 and 8, and I am really eagerly anticipating Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remakes to come to Switch 2. Hopefully they run good, because Resident Evil Requiem is pretty rough on Switch 2. A lot of stuttering, a lot of performance issues. Doesn't look too bad, but the performance issues are pretty noticeable and keep me from playing Resident Evil on Switch. But I'm hoping with 2, 3, and 4 remakes that they run a little bit better. But yeah, I'm hoping to see that. I think we're going to see that at this Nintendo Direct. I think they're just going to do the 1-2 punch like they did with 7 and 8. There's no need to space them out. They're already released. If you have them ready, put them out on Switch 2, probably in the fall. That'd be a good thing. I'd be very excited. I'd be there day one, especially if they sell them in a bundle. I'll do a bundle again. This next one, Ocarina of Time remake, revealed with a release date of October, most likely the big holiday game. So with Star Fox being confirmed, it's more than likely we're getting that Ocarina of Time remake. These were both leaked a while back from Nate the Hate, back in that podcast before we knew of any Nintendo's summer plans. Nate the Hate put out a podcast and basically spilled the beans on Star Fox coming back and the Ocarina of Time remake. I do think that this is coming out this year. I do expect this to be a big game. I feel like this is going to be a bigger remake than what we're getting with Star Fox, with the Star Fox 64 remake. I'm very excited. I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic about this. Ocarina of Time is my favorite video game of all time, so I do have high expectations for a remake. I don't think you should just slap a new coat of paint on a Switch version, since we already have a great Ocarina of Time remake on 3DS. I do think they need to do more and expand Ocarina of Time for a modern audience. So I do have high expectations, and I think it'll be pretty damn good, but I'm going to be more picky when it comes to Ocarina of Time, just because of my attachment to it and how I want more for that game when it comes to remaking it. So Ocarina of Time remake, I do think that this is going to be released in October, but I do think this is going to be the big Nintendo game of the holiday season. Ocarina of Time, with the new Zelda movie coming out next year, I do feel Ocarina of Time is ripe for a remake and is right around the corner. So expect Ocarina of Time remake to show up in the June Nintendo Direct. Moving on to my next Nintendo prediction, we got Fire Emblem release date for August. I think Fire Emblem's going to show up again. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave was announced at the last big Nintendo Direct they did, not the partner showcase, but the last one they did in September, I believe. But I do think Fire Emblem is going to get a release date, and it's going to be for August, and I do think this is going to be another fantastic entry in the Fire Emblem franchise. Fire Emblem Engage was a pretty disappointing Fire Emblem game, depending on who you speak to. Fire Emblem Three Houses, phenomenal tactical RPG that I think it seems that they are tying Fortune's Weave into that storyline, so I'm very curious to see more Fire Emblem, but I think that this is another great big first-party game that is coming out soon. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my Nintendo first-party predictions for the Nintendo Direct. I think Fire Emblem and Zelda are the big ones that we see at this Nintendo Direct. We'll get a section on Splatoon Raiders, which will be great. But other than that, Nintendo's first-party lineup for this year, for the rest of the year, I should say, is going to be probably consisting of Rhythm Heaven, Splatoon Raiders, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, and Ocarina of Time remake. And I think that's about all we're going to get, because Pokemon's slated for next year, so it's going to be pretty light when it comes to Nintendo stuff at this Direct, and I do think there will be a huge third-party presence. I expect some ports to be announced and brought over to the Switch 2. What they may be, I do not know, but I do think that this is going to be a very heavy third-party presence at a Nintendo Direct, and I honestly don't mind, because most of my time spent on my Nintendo Switch 2 has been playing some pretty great third-party games. So I think they're going to keep the ball rolling and have the third parties keep rolling in with great games, maybe some day-and-date games, maybe some older games that are going to be coming out soon. But, yeah, expect heavy third-party presence and pretty big but minimal first-party big hitters. So, with that out of the way, that wraps up the Nintendo section. Let's hop into the SGF main event. I do have more predictions for the main SGF event because I think last year's SGF was pretty great. We got that excellent bait and switch reveal of Resident Evil Requiem. I think we're going to have more big hitters like that, and I do expect we're going to have a big hitter like that with Capcom, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Persona 4 Revival. Full reveal and release window for early 2027. And when I wrote this, I was like, yeah, SGF, this could land in the Xbox category because I think Xbox had the announcement of this last year. So it could end up there. But I do expect we see Persona 4 Revival, full reveal, and release window for early 2027. As someone who has just freshly played Persona 4 Golden all the way through for the first time, I'm very excited for this. I am also cautiously optimistic for this one because Persona 4 Golden is probably my favorite RPG I have ever played. I think that this has some pretty big goals it needs to hit. I'm concerned because it seems like the voice cast is not returning. I do think it's going to have to live up to that. I think Persona 4 is such a interesting game to remake because while I think it is welcome, I do think that it also has a lot more problems than I think even Persona 3 has, just because Persona 4 is probably the most well-written Persona game. For me personally, it's the most like engrossing Persona story, and the characters really carry it. So I think they really need to get it. I think they really need to nail a Persona 4 remake. I am excited for it after having played Persona 4 Golden all the way through, but I do think it has some pretty big shoes to fill. I don't doubt Atlus can do it. Persona 3 Reload, from what I've played so far of that is a pretty damn good remake and a pretty great game. And I think Persona 4 is just a bigger task just because I do feel it has more stakes of getting it wrong, you know what I mean? So I think Persona 4 Revival is going to be awesome, but I am just waiting to hear more about it and how far they're going to go with it, just because the main cast of characters is so special and so iconic that I think it's going to have to really nail it, and it's going to have to be a really, really well done remake. So with GTA 6 around the corner, I think even a Persona, which is a completely different market than the GTA crowd, I just think a lot of games are going to be a 2027 release just because we're trying to get out of the way of GTA. I think Nintendo's the only one that's like, we don't care. We're going to be there in late 2026. But yeah, expect to see Persona 4 Revival at some point during the SGF season, whether that be Xbox or at the main event. It's going to happen. But next on my list is Crazy Taxi gets a full reveal with a release date of early 2027. I think rolling with the Sega adjacent things. Crazy Taxi was teased this past week on the Crazy Taxi socials. We're going to see Crazy Taxi soon. Very excited. We're going to get a release date, probably early 2027. I just can't imagine, unless they have something up their sleeves where it's like, oh, it's out in August. I think Crazy Taxi is also going to avoid the fall, and we'll get an early 2027 of that, and I'm very excited. After I beat Shenmue, I was like, man, dude, I'm on like a Dreamcast kind of kick, a Sega game kick, just kind of like late 90s, early 2000s kick, where I just want to play those games from that era. And Crazy Taxi, very welcome, coming at a great time for me, especially after having this like crazy itch to play something that feels like a Dreamcast era game. I'm very excited for Crazy Taxi. Can't wait to see that. Early 2027, I think we get a full reveal soon. And also rolling keep rolling with Sega. Sega published Alien Isolation 2. I expect this to get revealed with a release window of 2027. I think this will be a late 2027 game, but I do think that we see something from Alien Isolation 2. Creative Assembly put up that teaser video a few weeks ago. It has been so long since they announced that game. I think it's been a few years now, which feels crazy because that feels like that happened yesterday. Yeah, I think we're going to see Alien Isolation 2. Very excited. Once again, played Alien Isolation a few years back, all the way through for the first time. What a phenomenal video game. It's one of my favorite licensed video games I've ever played. I put that toe-to-toe with Great Circle and some other great Star Wars games that have come out from Respawn. So, yeah, very excited for Alien Isolation 2. I think it gets revealed with a release window. I think it'll be more so a trailer rather than gameplay. I think it's too early. I still think we see it next year, but I think it's too early to see gameplay for it. So, Alien Isolation 2, I expect to see that soon. Next, rolling with some Capcom stuff. We got 2 back-to-back Capcom bangers, so let's hop into those with Onimusha Way the Sword gets shown off once again with a release date landing in October. I think it's time we see Onimusha again. Onimusha was announced a few years back now, and I think it's time that we see this game ramp up its marketing cycle and we get a release window of October. It's time to see Onimusha. It's the next big Capcom game to come out, and I could not be more excited. Onimusha Way of the Sword looks phenomenal. Anything with Capcom's name on it is sure to be pretty great. They've had a great track record recently. There's no reason for me to doubt Capcom. Until they slip up, Capcom's just kind of on a roll, and they've earned my goodwill. So I think I'm going to be picking up anything Capcom releases. So be on the lookout for Onimusha. Going to be another great Capcom game. This next one is huge for me. Another phenomenal game that I have played all the way through recently is Okami. It is the 20th anniversary of Okami, and I believe it's time we see more of the sequel. I don't know what capacity we'll see it in. I think we can see a trailer for it again. But I feel like it's time to at least see an in-engine look at Okami. It was announced a couple years back at the Game Awards, and I feel like that's enough time to see something like an Okami. Okami is very artistically styled. I can't imagine it'll be a long dev cycle, especially since Capcom's been pretty good about announcing games and releasing them in quick succession. Okami is something that is huge. It's the 20th anniversary. It's a big comeback. Hideki Kamiya is back at Capcom, working under Clover's studio to develop a Okami sequel in connection with Capcom. So I think we see Okami 2 show up at SGF. What better way to celebrate Okami's 20th anniversary than with a trailer of Okami in engine, looking great in the modern era. So yeah, that was my last written down prediction for SGF. So we're going to talk about some Sony and Xbox predictions. I don't have a lot here to say. I've kind of been out of the loop with both Sony and Microsoft when it comes to gaming. PlayStation's kind of been disappointing me recently. There's a lot of live service stuff going on that I'm just not a big fan of, and it's just so uninteresting to me. I just don't really feel like engaging with any news, but there are a few things here and there that are going to pop up at the Sony State of Play, like Wolverine's going to show up. We're going to get more gameplay. Very excited for that. I feel like it's time to see Cory Barlog's next game. I'm curious to see that and what that's going to be like. I think it's time we see Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. I think it's time for Naughty Dog to show up with that game again. It's been a while. I think they've been cooking. I think that's a game that comes out next year. It's been a while since Naughty Dog's released a brand new game. It's been since 2020. There's just been Last of Us remakes and remasters. It's time to see something from Naughty Dog. I hope PlayStation shows up with good stuff. They need that first party swing. They need that goodwill to come back. There's been rumors that Fair Games live service game that they were working on got a rename to Break In. We may see that here. If that shows up, it might kill my hype a little bit just because I think we need to break away from the live service stuff. Sony needs to just get back to basics. I think we're slowly getting there, but this stuff has to stop. These games aren't appealing. No one, frankly, gives a shit about them. Put the nail in the coffin of this live service push from PlayStation. Get back to what people are most excited for. I think they need to come back swinging. And we need to figure out some way to get like a Bloodborne or what have you back at PlayStation. We need older classics to come back like Infamous, maybe even a Resistance or a Killzone. Like, I just think we need to go back to basics and bring back iconic IP that's just been left dormant in favor of live service slop. Not a lot to say on Sony's front. Like, I think we could see some things show up here. Like, maybe Capcom shows up with more Resident Evil stuff. We need something that's going to be great from Sony at the State of Play. It's about an hour long. Like, maybe an update on Castlevania, the new Castlevania that's coming out. We need to see more of that. Maybe a little bit more on the Metal Gear collection that's coming out with 4 and Peace Walker. I don't know what you could say more. They're older games. People already know about them. But maybe a little bit more of that. Maybe Kojima shows up with something. I don't know. There just needs to be something exciting. Cut the live service crap. Some great third-party games. Some good looks at whatever PlayStation's first-party studios are handling. We're going to see that 4-loop game, that J.J. Abrams Bad Robot video game. I couldn't care less about that. I'm tired of seeing these live service games. Not going to play them. Just unappealing to me. Don't want to hop into stuff like that. So I'm hoping PlayStation has some big hitters going on at this Sony State of Play. So let's move on to the next one. The Xbox. Didn't really have a whole lot to say about Sony, so we're just going to move into Xbox. But Xbox, I think there's more. I think I'm more curious to see what Xbox has going on, just because I think they have some studios that could bring out some like pretty excellent games. Like Fable's probably going to show up again. Very curious to see more about that because it looks pretty good. I just hope they nail it. Xbox has had a real big problem of being able to nail these big, like, almost PlayStation-like exclusives. Like, Xbox has great exclusives, quote-unquote exclusives, because most of them you can play on PlayStation, but they have good games from good studios. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is probably the best thing that they've done in a decade plus. Something big is what Xbox needs, and I think Fable is going to be a huge hit. It just depends on where it lands. I think if GTA comes out this year, I think Fable gets pushed to next year. There's just no way they go toe-to-toe. I think we get Wolfenstein 3. I think it's time. They've been teasing Wolfenstein 3 a little bit. Like, there was that no-clip documentary on Machine Games that came out recently where they were talking about, oh, we have an idea for Wolfenstein 3. I think we get back to Wolfenstein 3. I would be very excited for Wolfenstein 3. I love Machine Games, whether that be indie or Wolfenstein. I do think that we see something from Machine Games. Indie just got released on the last console. It needs to release on the Nintendo Switch 2. So I think Machine Games has been working on Wolfenstein 3 with smaller teams working on updates for Indiana Jones and the Switch 2 port. So I think it's time to move on. Love Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Was a great adventure. Think we need to move on to Wolfenstein 3 now. I'm curious to see what it's going to be like. Wolfenstein Youngblood wasn't great. And by wasn't great, it wasn't good at all. So I think it's time to see what Wolfenstein can be in a third title. They nailed my favorite iconic movie franchise of all time. So why shouldn't I trust them to make a great Wolfenstein now that we're past Youngblood and we're past Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which was my personal game of the year when it came out. So very curious to see what they got going on. And sticking with Bethesda, Fallout 3 remaster. I think we're going to see it announced here. Whether I just think they need something like that. I think we need a Fallout something that is not Fallout 76. I think Fallout 76 has its crowd, and I respect the people that stick with it, but it's not what Fallout should be, and it's not what we should be focusing on when it comes to Fallout announcements. I think it's time for Fallout 3 Remaster. Have something for the single-player crowd, because Fallout 76 is not doing it. It's not doing it for me. It's not doing it for a lot of people. I think it's time that Bethesda's like, okay, rip the Band-Aid off, show them that we have something besides 76. It's hard to say with Xbox, too, because it's just like they're kind of in like a transitional period. They have a new CEO. They're kind of doing things right. They're getting back to basics. I think this is going to be the year this summer to rebuild their image. So whatever they have planned, I do think that we're going to have something big for Xbox this year. Like I said earlier, I think this is where we could also see Persona 4 Revival show up again. Very excited for that. Want to see more of that. But yeah, for Xbox, those are like the two big ones that I'd have. I think about Wolfenstein 3. Think that's happening very soon. And also Fallout. They need to figure out their vision for Fallout right now. But yeah, I think that's all I really have for predictions. I'm going to be more surprised this year. I was really in tune with gaming news around this time last year that I kind of knew and expected more, but right now my expectations are kind of loose, pretty loose. I'm excited to see what they got. But yeah, let me know what everybody thinks down below. I want to hear some of your predictions in the comments down below. Let me know what you're excited for, what you're looking forward to. Please leave a like and subscribe. It helps out a ton. And please share the video around with your friends. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And yeah, see you soon. Bye.